It would be a good opportunity to buy the dip if you have cash. Markets don't like uncertainty, and there's a lot of uncertainty. I think that is the best quote of this. I expect Bitcoin to go on a really massive run in 2025. We buy and hold. We buy and hold. We take a lot of the risk out. We don't trade Bitcoin because we believe it's better money, and over the long term, it's going to be the best performing asset and the best place to store our wealth.
Mallers opens by addressing the cyclical nature of Bitcoin and how this digital asset, despite periods of downturn, has consistently grown over time. He highlights that Bitcoin operates through bull and bear cycles, which have historically presented investors with buy-the-dip opportunities. For Mallers, the long-term trajectory of Bitcoin is clear. It's going up forever. He attributes this to Bitcoin's unique position as a fixed asset currency that operates outside of traditional financial systems. For those who believe in Bitcoin's long-term value, Mallers suggests that any dip, whether triggered by market sentiment or political events, is a good entry point for buying more.
Please take a little time to like this video, subscribe to the channel, and turn on post notifications for more videos like this. You can also check out our other videos on cryptocurrencies and the overall digital asset space and drop your comments and observations in the comments section below. Everything you do helps with the YouTube algorithm and immensely contributes to the channel's growth. Thanks and enjoy the video.
No, but it's a good buy the dip point. Listen, Bitcoin's going up forever. And so it's always, Bitcoin's going up forever. That means it's always a good time to buy Bitcoin. That's just math. If you subscribe to the idea that Bitcoin's better money and superior technology, and that it should go up against everything because it's the only fixed asset, then you could buy Bitcoin at any point and it's going to end up being a good buy. But my dad's point's a good one in that what we've seen historically is Bitcoin goes through these bull and bear cycles. It's very cyclical, and we're not in a bear market. And so if Bitcoin does dip, that's what he's calling an event. So you've got Mt. Gox, you've got COVID, you've got, ETF denials back in the day. Bitcoin used to move 10, 20, 30% when the Winklevoss got denied for their ETF. And so if we get an event dip, it's a good opportunity to BTFD. Now that does stand for something. That is not from a forum. That stands for buy the dip. And so it would be a good opportunity to buy the dip if you have cash. I live on sats. I don't have any cash. So I'm hodling through no matter what, through lesbian bars and all. But it's a good point that this dip would be an event dip. Those rebound traditionally almost immediately. And it's a good opportunity if you have cash on the table on the side. Markets don't like uncertainty, and there's a lot of uncertainty. I think that is the best quote of this. I expect Bitcoin to go on a really massive run in 2025. I think if Trump wins, it probably starts that run a little earlier. If Kamala wins, I was going to say if Trump loses, that's really what this is about. It's either Trump wins or Trump loses. No one even knows who's running our country right now. Has anyone seen Biden recently? It's really like you either like Trump or you don't like Trump. But then financial assets and markets probably dip. But again, I think 2025, why 2025 is because we're going to get certainty. Someone has to get sworn into office. Then we'll know who's staffed. And then we'll know how things will work. And I think there's a lot of clarity that the world is going to get over the next few months. And between now and then, again, you can speculate and try and play the game. The way I'm playing it is I'm long Bitcoin every second of my life. I don't like being short Bitcoin, even a penny. And so I'm hodling all the way through it. But I think that's what you'll see. And anyone's guess over the next 60 days. We buy and hold. We buy and hold. We take a lot of the risk out. We don't trade Bitcoin because we believe it's better money, and over the long term, it's going to be the best performing asset and the best place to store our wealth. And so it's a good reminder, especially for those new, the meme of HODL. Sometimes you think, you hear people say HODL stands for hold on for dear life. No, it doesn't. Financial markets do not like uncertainty. They do not like uncertainty. They will wait for certainty. And so I think also what you've seen, especially in Bitcoin, is Bitcoin's not going to move until there's certainty as to what's going on, especially because we know when we'll get certainty. There is an election. There has to be a result. and Bitcoin will likely start to move and show you how it feels about it once we get certainty. Another thing about trading this election, financial markets over the last few weeks have started to price in a Trump victory. So if you do want to trade the election, honestly, it's the risk return is a little dubious now because Bitcoin's already started to price in Trump winning. So if Trump wins, you've kind of already lost. If you're going to go margin long, you've kind of already lost a lot of the upside versus a Harris victory. So I think when you've seen Bitcoin chop around based on prediction market movings and stuff, it's adjusting itself downwards, because I think this is one of the more interesting points. The prediction market, think of it like a coin flip. The prediction market, listen, the election I think is much more 50-50 than people make it out to be, in the same way that every time you flip a coin, it's always 50-50. It's always 50-50, even if the last 1,000 times was heads. The way statistics work, statistical math, is it's always 50-50, probability math. And with an election, I think this is actually much closer to 50-50. But obviously, if you flipped a coin 10 times or 100 times in a small sample size, it's not going to be 5-5 or 50-50. If you have a small enough sample size, there's a derivation based on the existing universe. We don't have enough versions of the universe to run these experiments in parallel to get it absolutely correct. So people are going based on Elon Musk or based on things they're seeing on their Twitter feed, and they're placing these bets on prediction markets. And so, yes, the amount of capital pledged has a slight edge to Trump. But I think the idea that Trump at any point had a 70% chance of winning, I think the markets started to misprice the actual probability of his victory versus like a coin flip, if that makes sense to you guys. So I think speculators are in charge. That's obvious. So what's a speculator? A speculator is not a buy and hold. A speculator is not a hodler. A speculator is someone that's gambling, that's taking inside information, that's running quantitative trades, it's drawing lines on charts. That's what a speculator. Speculators are in charge. They're tossing money in prediction markets. They're placing leverage bets on Bitcoin. They're trying to catch knives in these volatile times. So my advice is to buy and hold. No matter who gets elected, Bitcoin's going to go up. If Trump gets elected, it's probably going to go up faster. If Harris gets elected, we might dip 20-30%, and then the next day go back to normal price action, and the government's going to debase no matter what. So I would say DCA, buy and hold. Speculators are in charge. Be patient. Markets like certainty. They don't like uncertainty. They don't like unknown risks. They don't like the fact that our country might be in a digital civil war over the next few weeks of who actually won and who's going to finally say, I lost. When are we, either candidate, when are we going to hear them say, I lost? And so I say, sit this one out, be very careful. And I think the world doesn't appreciate how close this race is because of prediction markets. It's very much like coin flip math.
Mallers views Bitcoin as a mirror of societal sentiment, which is often in flux due to a range of external pressures. With upcoming elections, a volatile economy, and widespread uncertainty, Bitcoin is likely to experience heightened price movements. He believes that Bitcoin's volatility is simply a reflection of the strong emotions people feel in today's world. Just as societal pressures mount, Bitcoin, which operates as a free market, will react accordingly. He reminds viewers that Bitcoin's nature as a decentralized open market asset makes it uniquely vulnerable to these fluctuations. He suggests that those new to Bitcoin should remember that this volatility is part of its DNA. Bitcoin has weathered intense market corrections in the past, only to come back stronger. For Mallers, this reinforces Bitcoin's appeal as an investment that ultimately grows over time, regardless of short-term turmoil.
You know, if you're a Bitcoiner and you've been in the space for 6 weeks, 6 months, even a few years, you might not remember Bitcoin crashed over 50%, I think, in a day. It fell to $3,000 in March of 2020 on all the COVID news. Because again, Bitcoin is the most free market in the world. It's the truest expression of the collective conscious of humanity in a market, in financial, time, energy, expressive ways. And so it always reacts first, and it always reacts most aggressively because it doesn't have circuit breakers. It doesn't have time off. It doesn't have centralized actors that can protect it. It's the most natural expression. And so when COVID happened, Bitcoin tanked, but then it went from 3,000 to 70,000. And so Bitcoin, it's not beyond Bitcoin to be extremely volatile and truly express the emotions that all of us are feeling right now, because my dad's right. Whether you like it or not, there is a lot on the line in this election, a lot on the line. And depending on what you care about, obviously our listeners care about Bitcoin, but there's a plethora, there's an array of topics that people care deeply about, that everything is on the line. And so naturally, human emotion is going to be extremely volatile. So I expect Bitcoin to be extremely volatile because, again, it's the only market that people can't control. And so I would seriously sit this one out over the long term, just like we saw we saw COVID. Bitcoin went down to $3,000 and then it 20x'd. I expect the same type of behavior. Over the long term, it's going to be the best performing asset as we know it to be. But over the next few weeks, it's anyone's bet. And you got to be really, really careful. I think people forget on the White House website from our government, there was on the website that said, if you're vaccinated, you did the right thing. If you're not vaccinated, you're contributing to murdering people. That was like from our government. And we were under the impression we couldn't leave the house. We were all under attack by a virus and everyone's life was at risk. The economy had to shut down. Everything in the S&P was falling. Bitcoin reacted to that, said, is the world unraveling as we know it? And then when financial authorities came out and said, no matter what happens, we're going to make sure your assets are protected and that they'll go up in price, and we're going to inject as much liquidity and as much stimulus into the economy as absolutely necessary to make sure that nobody is poor, then Bitcoin went to 70,000. And that's, again, Bitcoin is the most natural expression of the world we know it. And so when you look at a chart, it's expressing currency debasement in dollar terms. But over the next few weeks, it's going to express. So Bitcoin seems relatively undecided. One day it's going up because Trump did something. One day it's going down because Pennsylvania prediction markets change. It doesn't know because nobody knows what's going on. And it's extremely volatile. It's extremely emotional. It's extremely vulnerable. And I think that's how America feels right now.
Jack Mallers provides a nuanced and pragmatic view of Bitcoin's place in today's world. While acknowledging the challenges and potential risks of holding Bitcoin, especially amid political and economic uncertainty, he remains steadfast in his belief that it is a superior form of money and a resilient store of value. For those able to ride out the short-term volatility and avoid the lure of speculative trading, Mallers argues that Bitcoin will prove itself as the best-performing asset over the long term. Whether you're new to Bitcoin or a seasoned investor, his advice is clear. Focus on the big picture, buy and hold, and let Bitcoin's fundamental strengths guide your investment journey. The coming months may bring unpredictability, but as Mallers emphasizes, Bitcoin's potential is unshakable.
Please like and subscribe my channel.